Exiled Cameroonian native Dr. Cho Ayaba is the frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council, and he joins us via Skype. Dr. Ayaba, good evening and thank you for joining us on The Globe.
Thank you for having me, but I am an Ambazonian, not a Cameroonian, so let me just make that slight correction.
Thank you so much for that correction, Dr. Ayaba. Now, do the English-speaking people want to secede from Cameroon, and is this the only option for them?
We are not seceding from Cameroon. The concept of secession will imply that we gain independence with Cameroon as an integral part of Cameroon. That is not the case. Cameroon gained independence as a separate nation on the 1st of January 1960, inheriting the international border that was demarcated in 1916, affirmed in 1919, and reaffirmed in 1932. So we have been a separate state with an international personality as from 1919. We've had 3 prime ministers within a short period of time, while Cameroon for over 57 years have had 2 presidents. So we are not seceding from Cameroon. We are struggling to restore the independence that was taken away from us in 1961.
Now, you're exiled yourself. Why did you leave Cameroon?
Like millions of our people scattered across the globe, we have been forced out of our homeland by the brutal policies of colonialism that Cameroon has imposed on us across different sectors of our society. It dismantled our political institutions, muscled out our economic system, and took over our legal and educational system, and engaged in acts of torture, systematic brutality against our people, pushing millions of our people out of the country.
Now, Dr. Ayaba, what about the people who were left behind? What do they have to endure on a daily basis?
According to UN data, the ongoing war has affected more than 6 million people. We have about 1 million people internally displaced because Cameroon has used helicopter gunships to burn down more than 400 villages. It has used schools as military barracks. It has pushed millions of our people into its own country through its actions. So our people are going through hell. But it is simply visible today because we have invoked our right under international law to self-defense. But this is exactly what has been going on for close to 58 years, hidden under the radar.
Why is it still hidden under the radar? Why is it only coming out now in recent times, the difficulties that are being faced by the Ambazonian people in Cameroon?
Simply because there was an international conspiracy in 1961 to take away the sovereignty over our country and hand it over to Cameroon. So the United Kingdom, the United Nations, and other countries did not want to become culpable in this international conspiracy. So they maintained mute silence as far as Cameroon was the only party that was armed, could exercise brutality over our people. When we rose up 3 years ago in massive demonstrations to highlight the plight of our people, they never listened. We were butchered on the streets. The world stayed silent. In the face of ongoing genocide, nobody cared. They refused to invoke the responsibility to protect our people. We call on our people to defend themselves, defend our territorial integrity, and defend the lives of our children and our women. And that's when they started listening.
Now, the United Nations, are basically now getting or highlighting the problems and the issues that are taking place in Cameroon for the Ambazonian people. Are you engaging the United Nations in trying to find a solution going forward for your people?
The United Nations is not. the United Nations is mainly concerned with the humanitarian situation. A prominent humanitarianist in Oslo did inform the United Nations. You cannot be concerned with the displacement, you cannot be concerned with the refugees without looking at the root causes that compel them to become refugees in the first place. The United Nations has maintained utter silence to the root causes of the problem. The international system, through the government of Switzerland, called for discussions at the level of the international system. Cameroon failed woefully to commit to that process. The United States, Britain, and other countries failed also to engage in a meaningful way to assure our people that the process will be credible. So we are still expecting the United Kingdom, the United Nations. And I was in South Africa, and I call on the South African government to remember their own history and the contributions we all made as African people to ending apartheid, which has just been declared a few hours ago as crimes against humanity. Africa must wake up to the issues that haunt different peoples within the continent. And we expect all stakeholders in the international system to bring Cameroon on the table to negotiate its exit from our homeland.
Now, Human Rights Watch alleges that your militia kidnapped well over 100 people ahead of recent election. Is this the case? And, what do you have to say to that?
We don't run a militia. We have a well-constituted self-defense organization that is premised on its code of conduct reflecting the 4 Geneva Conventions on the laws of war. So we are a well-constituted army. Yes, in a chaotic situation like this, there are bound to be crimes that are committed. But we are taking strict measures to ensure that our soldiers conduct themselves with utmost respect for international rules. But the massive violations of human rights in our homeland has been committed by Cameroon.
Journalists in Cameroon's troubled English-speaking regions say separatists are attacking them because of critical reporting and refusal to broadcast rebel propaganda. Is this true?
I am not aware, except you may want to, cite any case where our forces or our people have attacked journalists. We have been critical against journalists that misrepresent the issues, referring to us as a geographic region of Cameroon. For example, I just corrected you right away for calling me a Cameroonian. Those are the kinds of critiques that we make on journalists who themselves are scared, to address the situations correctly because they face retribution from the government of Cameroon.
Dr. Ayaba, you're still with us, right? A Cameroonian court handed life sentences to 10 separatist leaders in the past. Do we know what their condition is and how many remain incarcerated?
We have more than 3,500 Ambazonians that are locked up as prisoners of war across different jails in Cameroon. We all know that the prisons of Cameroon are far beyond any standard that protects human dignity and human rights. They have been subjected to psychological torture. They have been subjected to brutality. Prisoners have been tried through very unfair processes and handed out long sentences by the regime in Yaoundé. We have asked that these prisoners be considered as prisoners of war and be subjected to international law protection.
Now, Dr. Ayaba, very quickly, just in wrapping up, where to from here?
We have defeated Cameroon in battle. We now control more than 85% of our territory. It was demonstrated on the 1st of October when we filed through our streets in celebration of our Day of Independence. A few days ago, we rejected completely Cameroon's elections in our country. No consent was given to Cameroon for governance. It is time for the United Nations, the international system, to recognize Ambazonia as an independent state, help us set up a transitional authority to reopen schools, rebuild our burned villages, and rebuild our lives battered for over 57 years.
Dr. Ayaba, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll leave it there for now. That is exiled Ambazonian native Dr. Cho Ayaba. He is the frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council, and he was joining us there via